It's the Magic Untapped Podcast on magic-untapped.com, YouTube, and your favorite source for podcasts. Hi there, Magic players. Barry White here with Magic Untapped on the Magic Untapped Podcast. With me this month is one of our writers, Evan Simon. Evan, how are you, sir?
I am trying to avoid COVID, but otherwise I'm doing great. How are you?
We're avoiding the coronavirus. I won't say I haven't had a few Corona Lights while doing it, though.
Aha.
I see what they did there. But you know what I'm really excited about is not the fact that I haven't caught COVID yet, yet being the key word, but I'm excited about Commander Legends. Just came out today, Evan, Friday the 20th. Just came out.
This very day, yep.
Yeah. So
I'm excited for it.
It's a pretty novel thing, this Commander Legends. I mean, it's basically draftable EDH. I think that's pretty novel.
Right, and there's a lot. Right, I'm excited about that, and also I'm excited about how art faces are now on a lot of the common cards now, so you get to see a lot more art on them. There's just so much.
Yeah, there's really a lot to take in here. Just the singles alone are things worth mentioning. You have some great reprints like Mana Drain and Vampiric Tutor. You got Scroll Rack. Which if you're a more enfranchised older player like myself, you're like, hey, Scroll Rack, great. I remember Combo Winter. Yay. But then we got some really cool new cards. We got Opposition Agent. We got Jeweled Lotus. I mean, there is a lot of stuff in this set.
Right. Magus of the Order. That's one of my favorite new ones.
Mm-hmm. Magus, depending on how you want.
Magus.
Tomato.
I've heard both.
As long as I don't start calling him like Larry or something completely weird. At least Gary makes sense because Gray Merchant, but that's neither here nor there. The letters are there. Another card people are really, really high on that I'm seeing people talk about is Hull Breacher, which is blue and 2. It's a 3/2 Merfolk Pirate with Flash, so instant speed. And then it says if an opponent would draw a card except for the first one they draw in each of their draw steps, instead you create a treasure token. So it gives you some ramp in blue. It also can hamper other players' draws when they are drawing multiple cards in their draw step, not their main phase or anything. But people are really excited about that card. And the Jeweled Lotus, that thing is selling for big bucks. I don't know if you've seen.
I did see it, yes. If you get that in your pack, you might make beer money for the week.
Right. What's that mean? That sell. Right.
Yeah, you can Jim Cramer all you want, but
yeah,
yes.
That's Jim Cramer. Kramer, what are you doing with my Magic cards? That was a really, really bad Jerry Seinfeld. Don't even know why. It was really bad. Really, really bad. I'm gonna get like a nasty cease and desist letter from the Seinfeld family. I can just feel it already. It's coming. It's coming. But what are Evan, your two top cards? What are the ones you like the best?
Magus of the Order. I'm a green guy, that's the big green card this time around, and it does a lot in a small package, and that's but also it's a kind of an amazing thing.
See what you did there.
It harkens back to decks of 5-10 years ago when there was a lot more green, and I really appreciate that.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it's a pretty good card. 2 green and 2 for a 3/3 human wizard, and for 1 green you sacrifice it and another green creature, and you get to tutor for any other green creature in your deck. But it doesn't just go to your hand; it actually goes out onto the battlefield, and it can be done at instant speed. I think that's tremendous.
Right. It's almost like a red attack in a way, and it's just cool.
And what's your number 2 card there, sir?
It's a reprint, but I can never stay mad at having Generous Gift. It's just a fun card to play and just screws over the other player so much. For such a low value card, it does a lot of damage. Plus you get an elephant. So
Right. Gotta love the elephants, and they say they never forget.
They never do.
No, they never do. Well, top of my list right now, and this is just a pure flavor win. I mean, I've been around since the dark, so I played through Ice Age and all that, and there was some really, really cool story moments and characters in Ice Age that, well, at the time, it just wasn't really there as far as creating proper cards for some of these characters. One such character, as my cat decides to get his claws into me as he was jumping off my lap, bad Seppo, is Hans Eriksen, though. So Hans is a 1/4 for green, red, and 2 legendary human scout. Whenever Hans attacks, you reveal a top card of your library. If it's a creature card, put in the battlefield tapped and attacking the defending player or a planeswalker they control. If it's not, you just put the card in your hand. Now, when you do put a creature out, it fights Hans. It's a big flavor win for me because Hans Eriksen has been around since, I said, Ice Age. In the flavor text for the card Lagoif, going, Hans, run, it's the Lagoif. So it's fun to finally get a Hans Eriksen card. Big flavor win for me on that. And then the other card I really like is Opposition Agents. That's the black and 2 flash 3/2 human rogue.
Right.
And it lets you control your opponent when they're searching for cards. And then you can exile each card that's found, and then you get to play that, not your opponent, and spend mana of any color to play that spell. And I think that's really powerful, especially in the tournament scene. I really wonder what kind of an impact this is going to have on Legacy and Vintage, those nice Eternal formats.
It depends how you draft, but if you draft right, that could be a very powerful card to have. And going back to the first one, that hurt.
Hans,
that's 20 Hans, yes, I'll say him by his name. But that goes back, 20, 25 years? I'm sad to say it's been that long. But
I want to say 1995, I want to say, is when Ice Age came out. So it's 25 years.
Yeah, and so older players, they get something big through that, and younger players, they get to rediscover something they probably don't know too much about. So it's a win-win for pretty much everybody.
And the lore for some of those old sets is just absolutely amazing. Well worth reading up on and doing a little homework on. Some really good stories back then.
Oh, especially around Ice Age, my God.
Oh, yeah. Now, do you have any concerns, Evan, about Commander Legends? Anything that has a little
They're doing a little too much at one time, and they have a new mechanic coming up called, did you see this? Encore?
Yeah,
and I haven't played it yet. You don't know until you play it, really. You can read about it all you want, but until you play it, you don't really know how it's going to be. I have a little concern over that because it can go either way, really.
On paper, it does seem a little complicated. And there are ways to interact with those tokens. Encore, for those who don't know, essentially it lets you bring back token copies of a creature that has since died and is in your graveyard, and they're attacking each of your opponents, I believe, or it's a finite number or something like that. But the tokens are supposed to go away at the end of the turn. But there are ways, and we'll get to this when we talk about winners and losers here in a moment. There are ways around that, and it can get kind of complicated.
Right, but again, with any new mechanic, it's like people are gonna be like, "Oh no, this is gonna suck." But then many times it's just like, "Oh, this is actually pretty neat. They should keep this." So again,
and sometimes it works the other way around.
Right.
Now, one thing I'm concerned about here is the card Jeweled Lotus. I mean, we were praising it just a moment ago. It's essentially the Black Lotus for your commander. And I'm really wondering if it's really going to be around long for Commander and Oathbreaker. I know for Oathbreaker, which is like a commander variant, there's already been talk of banning it if they haven't already. I'd have to look. They may have already. But I'm wondering, do you think it'll survive the rules committee with EDH? Do you think they might give the card the axe at some point?
What, they might get legacied out or something?
No, just banned from Commander, not allowed to play it officially. I mean, granted, Commander is a casual format, but there is a ban list that people tend to respect.
Right. Uh, we'll see how the first round goes. We'll see how people play the card. If there were any major tournaments going right on on right now, we could definitely see how it could be used and abused. But with everything happening right now, we don't really have that like we've had in previous years. So it's going to be a wait and see. I think we'll see it for like a little while longer. We're definitely going to see it in 2021, but it depends where like everything is next year. But I think we'll see it for a little bit.
Okay, and we will. It is on Magic the Gathering Online, MTGO.
Right.
So it is getting some play, but as far as if there's going to be enough in a small sample period to come up with a non-knee-jerk reaction, I guess that's kind of up in the air right now. But I teased to it. We might as well do it. It's time for winners and losers. It's where we talk about the top 3 cards gaining and losing value over the past week. And let's talk about the 3 top winners. We have in third place the card Terrain Generator. This is specifically the Dual Decks Anthology version. It was $6.38, went up to $15.31. That is a difference, Evan, of 139.97%.
Wow.
After that, the Fairy's Veil, which is from Weatherlight, older card from 1997. It went from $1.27 to $4. Not a whole lot monetarily, but it did go up 214.96% over the course of a week. And then the brand new card, Jessica's Will from Commander Legends, rare, was $1.48, now up to $5.52. That's a difference of 272.97%. But the card I really want to talk about here is Teferi's Veil, that number 2 card there. Because it's not one you'd really expect to see move. I mean, the card's been around since 1997. It's been hovering right around the 50-cent range for, I don't know, almost since it saw print originally in Weatherlight. And now, boom, up to, $3, $4. So, so I had to look into this a little bit, and I thought it might have something to do with Commander Legends. And there is a card in Commander Legends. It's an uncommon legendary called, and I might butcher the name here, Araumi of the Dead Tide. Araumi, Araumi. Pronounce it how you
get points for effort.
Yeah, right. Anyway, so we mentioned the problem that we might see with tokens like through Encore, and this is that example I wanted to talk about, because Teferi's Veil is an enchantment that says whenever a creature you control attacks, it phases out at the end of combat. Araumi the Dead Tide says tap, exile cards from your opponent's graveyard equal to the number of opponents you have. Target creature card in your graveyard gains Encore until end of turn. So you give a creature in your graveyard Encore, it attacks, it then phases out. So it exists on the battlefield, but it's not actually there. So then end of turn happens, your opponent's turn happens, back to your turn, it phases back in. So now you still have it, even though it was supposed to be gone. But I really think that people are brewing around this. I took a look at some decks and some statistics, and around 40% or so of the brews that people are at least creating online, deck lists people creating online, are running Teferi's Veil when they are running Araumi of the Dead Tide. So I think we are looking at actual organic demand on Teferi's Veil as to why it saw a over 200% growth over the course of a week.
Right, and whenever something new comes out, we always see jumps in like common cards from like 10, 20 years ago, like a random one. This is that random one, and and like you said, it's benefiting greatly from Encore becoming a thing now and newer cards, and you could tell it might even go higher in value in the next few weeks just because more people are playing it.
Yeah, who knows? As far as Terrain Generator goes, it was always around a $2 to $4 card. It had a spike a little while ago, and it looks like it might be spiking again. And then Jessica's Will is, a pretty good card at red and 2 for sorcery. It's modal. But if you have a commander out when you cast it, you get to cast both modes at the same time, which is A, adding red to your mana pool for each card in target opponent's hand, and then B, exiling the top 3 cards of your library and being able to play them. So it's actually a pretty powerful card, especially for 3 mana. It's too bad it's a sorcery as opposed to an instant, but we can't have everything. So I think this is a legit. I wouldn't be surprised if this crept up a little higher than $5, maybe closer to $7 to $10 range, unless somebody absolutely breaks it.
You never know. You never know.
And for our losers, we have Mishra's Workshop from Antiquities, reserve list card, and this one's been bouncing back and forth. I blame speculators on this one, and just simple supply and demand. Old card, low run set. I think it was the second set ever printed in Magic, second expansion that is ever printed in Magic. It's been bouncing between some very high numbers. You can buy a card for this practically. It went from $9,500 to $6,500, went down about 31.5%. And then the card we mentioned earlier from Commander Legends, Hull Breacher. That one people were pretty hyped on going into the set's release. It was worth around $44.75. It's dropped to $25.35, down 43.34%. And Court of Bounty, which is an enchantment, a part of the courts. Oh, as I hit my mic, part of the court cycle. This is the green one. It was $20, dropped down to $9.61, lost more than half its value, 51.76% over the course of the past week. Aside from Mishra's Workshop playing yo-yo with the investors, you see anything of interest here with the losers?
Oh, man, I like Court. I have that card. No, again, this is just, it's not really much like, except for the first one, which is basically speculation still. Yeah. It's all reacting to the new deck and everything like that. And it needs to fluctuate. They usually fluctuate for like, a few weeks while people play them and then figure things out.
Before it gets stabilized, yeah. The chaff becomes chaff and the good stuff becomes good stuff. On a more
sell high, buy
basis.
low, I guess.
Always sell high, buy low. Sell. Sorry.
Much better.
There you go. There you go. Okay, there you go. Well, I want to go ahead and hop into Urza's Brewery and talk a little bit about a deck that I brewed a while back. I've taken it to a few Magic Fest and Grand Prix back when those were things in the pre-COVID days.
I remember those.
Yeah, I remember those. Pepperidge Farm remembers, Evan.
I know, but remember things like restaurants and movie theaters? Yeah, it's just like one of those.
Do you remember going outside? I miss outside.
I remember that back in the, how many years ago was that?
20? I don't know.
Yeah, sounds about right.
February, March. Anyway, so this is my take on Legacy Burn. Not exactly a novel deck, but it's very fun to play, so I figured I would share it with you, Evan, and those of you out there listening on your podcast service or watching on YouTube. Pretty straightforward, simple, hit 'em hard, hit 'em fast deck. You got 13 instants. That's 3 Fire Blasts, 4 Lightning Bolts, 4 Price of Progress, 2 Searing Blaze. There are 14 sorceries. That would be 4 Chain Lightning, 2 Flame Rift, 4 Lava Spike, 4 Rift Bolt. You have 13 creatures, 4 Eidolon of the Great Revel, 4 Goblin Guide, 1 Grim Lavamancer, 4 Monastery Swift Spear, 1 enchantment in Roiling Vortex, the new card from Zendikar Rising. I just threw that in, actually. And then we only run 19 lands in this deck, whereas most decks want to run around probably 23 to 25. We run 19, partially because our converted mana cost is so low, and we don't want to be drawing a bunch of lands. We want to just get maybe 3, 4, maybe, and just draw fuel, and just add to the fire. So those lands are 10 mountains, 8 fetch lands, 4 each of Wooded Foothills and Bloodstained Mire, and 1 Barbarian Ring from Odyssey. And Barbarian Ring, if you don't know, it's a non-basic, taps for red, but it pings you for 1 when you tap it for red. But the whole point here, it has a threshold ability. It says red and tap, sacrifice it. Barbarian Ring deals 2 damage to any creature or player, so long as you have threshold, which is 7 or more cards in your graveyard, and you will have 7 or more cards in your graveyard pretty fast with this deck. Partially due to my own misplays, last time I took it to a high-profile tournament, a Grand Prix, because of a few misplays of my own and just some dumb bad luck, I finished 1 win short of making it to day 2 with this deck. Honestly, in hindsight, I probably could have played one game a little differently and another game a lot differently, and it would have been a lot different. But yeah, this deck is all about, Mountain, Bolt, go, or Mountain, Goblin Guy, go, Mountain, basically hit him hard, hit him fast. Sideboard just has some answers. We have a couple ensnaring bridges. We have an exquisite firecraft to deal a finishing blow to those counter players, because with spell mastery, which you will have with this deck, exquisite firecraft cannot be countered by spells or abilities. So you go, okay, I hit you for 4 for the win. Oh, force of will. Well, whoops, never mind, that didn't happen. We have a couple Pithing Needles, 3 Pyroblasts, a Pyroclasm to take care of things like elves or small but wide, White Weenie, for example. We have Relic of Progenitus, some Graveyard Hate. We have a second Roiling Vortex, and then 3 Smash to Smithereens. Take care of things like a Chalice of the Void on 1, which can completely wreck this deck. But one nice thing is, despite it being a legacy deck, it is not, but for all intents and purposes, that expensive of a deck to build and actually compete with, to be completely honest with you. It is only about, $375 to $400 to build, which is practically free when talking about legacy decks. And that's nice. It's a great deck for someone who wants to get into legacy, or someone who's concerned about dropping $1,000, $2,000, $3,000 on a legacy deck. It's a perfect deck for somebody like that.
It's an interesting deck. I'm not big into Legacy Burn. Again, not a big red guy, but it seems like with your thing, it's kind of like knock him out in the 2nd or 3rd round, and hope it doesn't go farther than that, because yours doesn't have stamina, but you're quick out of the gate, but it will fade in the stretch. That's what I'm just from how you describe it. That's how I'm seeing this.
You're definitely playing for the sprint, not to go cross country. That is for darn sure. If it goes past a maximum 5 turns, let's just say that win percentage chance really starts to dip. But ideally, you have it, in the bag by turn 3, turn 4. It is, though, up to luck of the draw. If you need that one lightning bolt to win you the game, and you draw a mountain for 3 turns. But then again, that's also why it only runs 19 lands. So there's that too. And
it's a bit of a gamble.
it can be, but it's a fun one, though. It's fun. And I do look forward to having some fun with this deck, even at my local game store, where we have monthly weekend legacy tournaments. But, Evan, I can't go to my local game store right now because of this darn COVID.
What? I don't know what this COVID is. I mean, it's...
Yeah, right. Yeah, never mind the fact we're talking about at the beginning of the podcast, but... Yeah, stores still can't hold events in the U.S. and elsewhere in the world. And, granted, that's a good thing as far as taking care of COVID. But, gosh darn it, I want to play some Paper Magic.
There's nothing like going back in the former, Foot Locker store or something like that and just playing it back there in the old stock room. That's how I used to play it back in the day, back in my old mall.
Right.
Or?
Oh, so, or folding tables trying to buy comic books at your local comic shop or something.
Those are the two. Those are your 2 choices, yeah. Yeah, I miss those days. Older players interacting with younger players, actually teaching them, and sometimes the younger players teaching them right back. It always was so cool to see, and you can't do that so much online. It's
No, it's
kind of
not.
a bummer.
It's nice being able to have these online options, but I miss the face-to-face. I really do. I miss the tactile feeling of, I would say, of cardboard, but let's be honest, we play with sleeves. Cardboard within plastic in my fingers. There's been news of vaccines now, so when do you think that might change?
Right now, vaccines nationwide. Did I lose you?
Well, your video froze, but I can still hear you, so we'll call it a win.
Okay, sorry about that. Third time. So vaccines right now, they're supposed to be in at the end of the year, but through all the big groups. But right now, it's most likely going to be Q1, Q2 next year. So call it by the summer. Most likely, it could be sooner, it could be later. We don't know. So we can see be back in stores in about a year, hopefully. But until then.
Yeah. So Magic players, I guess we have to play a little more arena, a little more online, play with people over Zoom or something. But it's going to be a while.
But there are a lot of great alternatives, like you said, or just or refine your decks. That's another thing. I've been doing that, like with newer cards, like my Legacy deck and everything like that. Like this goes in, this goes out. How will this play? Just fine tune for right now, because it's like what TV shows are doing right now. They're getting better with the writing, getting better with how they want to set up shots, getting better with special effects. There's nothing else they can do right now. Do that with your decks.
Self-improvement.
Exactly. So by the time it's all ready, you're going to come out with a great deck, like right out of the gate, like you've been fine-tuning all this time. We're going to see a lot of great decks as soon as everything comes back, and a lot of great tournaments coming up because of this. So,
well, I sure hope so, because I sure do miss it. And Magic players, I hope you guys don't miss us for our next podcast next month. As always, it'll post on the third Friday of each month. It's been a pleasure. Evan?
Stay safe out there.
Yeah. Don't catch that COVID, that Rona. And thank you for watching on YouTube and listening to the Magic Untapped Podcast everywhere you listen to podcasts, iTunes, Spotify, Anchor, and more.